Welcome back to the channel and to Project CAT. And after the success in the last video, kind of filled with enthusiasm for this machine again. So down here today to sort out a couple of problems. Now I have been down since I shot the last video and went to replace the two tires in the back of the machine, but when I picked it up with the ram, or sorry, with the boom, it started to leak, just a small leak from an O-ring. So spoke too soon about the machine not leaking this time, but at least it wasn't a hose. So I've got the O-rings today. I'm also going to tackle some of that funky plumbing on the boom. As if you've followed the series of videos, you'll know that somebody disconnected the digging ram and they'd fitted this thing with a grab. It was working in this yard as a timber forwarder, so the plumbing had been messed around with pretty badly. Some of the pipework had just been cut and there were connections put on there to hook on different hoses for the grab. So I've got the connections I need today, and we get on it now, replace that O-ring, and also it's going to start getting the pipework in place to fit the quick hitch, so we can get a bucket on her. And then we'll swing her around. We might pull the blade, or at least the blade rams off the back of it because they're leaking. Try and sort those out, and we'll pick up in the machine and get a set of wheels under that left rear end. After that, then I need to look at the steering to see why that isn't working, and I'm going to free out the foot brake pedal as well, so if we do get her moving, we can stop her if we need to. So let's get going. So I've dropped the boom down on this useful pulvert that just happened to be sitting in front of the machine, so it's giving me a nice work platform to get to this. So this is where she leaked, out of this joint here on the front of this check valve. Another thing looks very rusty, but when I started to actually hack the rust off it, it was fairly clear that it's all surface. I think she's good enough to stay going. So I just need to open this up. I closed it so I wouldn't lose it, the spring or anything inside it. It's got new O-rings in the Range Rover, so I'll chuck those in. This is one of the butchered connections. So they cut this and then they welded a couple of fittings together, put this pipe on here, which is gone down there to service the grab. So this is the bucket ram. This pipe is one of the inner ones. So I'm going to put on the connection I have, which is here, and this connection will join to this coupler here, which will take the hose just going down there to our bucket ram. So connect it up with us, so get those brackets on there to secure it. I've also got, this is one of the quick attach hoses. This was tied up over there in that work lamp. There's a second one there, but it's very sharp, but I got a coil of that hose as well, so we'll see how we need to join that up and get it started. But we'll begin with this, and once we have this fixed and that bucket ram connected, we should be able to bring the quick hitch down here and throw it onto it, and then we'll swing her around and throw a set of tires under her. Let's get going. Before I fit this thing up, I need to give a huge shout out. I didn't have a clue, I didn't know where to start with these connections, so I called on a friend of mine from work, Owen, who is a very experienced mechanic, really knows these excavators and the heavy machinery, and as per usual, he came to the rescue, told me what I needed. He's given me a huge amount of help and encouragement through the job, helped me put the pump together, and every time I have a problem I call him. So if you're watching this on, thank you. So pipes are joined up. Down there is the pile of crap that I removed, so I got rid of all the spare pipe work that was here, and I've temporarily attached all the pipes and cable ties until I can get around to get them up to the welder and get them welded together. Okay, back down with the CAT, and this is that little port that was leaking. There was a blank inside it, this one. So between the surface of this thing corroding and the blank cap corroding, the O-ring wouldn't seal it. So I went to a neighbour, he gave it just half a hammer and used a Torx bit to get it out. So it came out nice and easy. I've been kind of debating how to do it. It turned out it just flew out of there. So he had this bolt, which is the correct thread, and as you can see, it's also tapered. And inside there is tapered, so I might just stick an O-ring under it. I'm going to put it in there, tighten it up, and see what happens, and stick it back in the machine. Okay, so smacking this thing with a sledge hasn't moved it. I had the 12-ton jack from the Range Rover in there, no good, so using the port-to-power now. Let's see how we get on. was an absolute pig of a job, and suddenly realised I should have checked the tire pressure on that one before I put it on. I knew one of them could have been pumped a little harder, never did it of course, but yeah, looks a bit less like scrap now. So I've got those pins ready to come out of the back now of the blade, so get those out tomorrow. This is enough for today. Tired, hungry, thirsty, and very sore after that. That was a pig of a job, so I'm off home. Okay, so just in case you've ever wondered why there's been so much of a gap to this video, it's because of stuff like this. I have spent parts of 3 separate days trying to get this blade off. So it's a case of pulling 4 pins really, and that would be it. Some of the pins are inaccessible. I've been trying everything to get them out, and even this one had to use extreme violence. I've actually bent that solid metal bar with the sledgehammer and knocked the end off it, even damaged the pin, and I'm just about to finish it now, pulling it with the port power. So yeah, simple job turned into an absolute night. Alright, so I've finally given up and trying to remove the rams off this machine. Well, in situ anyway here. I've been beating on these pins for several days. I've actually come down here, I think 3 times, spent several hours at a sledgehammer, assortment of bars, beating the hell out of them. Can't get the port power in there to push them out. The only option really to get them out would be to take the 4 wheels off the rear of the machine again and try beating them with a sledgehammer with direct hit. And I'm just not going to do that down here. I'm not going to remove wheels with hand tools again and go through that pain and misery. If I could get it somewhere where I could heat it up with the gas, I might be able to shift them. Don't want to try heating them where it is now, because the entire back of the machine's covered in oil, and there's obviously years of wood chips still around this machine, so there's a fairly good possibility the whole machine will go up in flames. So what I'll do instead is I'm going to try repairing those rams in situ and get it back up to the steam cleaner, then steam clean it off, and I could then put it over a pit and carry out the repairs there. So what's happened is the hard line from the rear of the ram to the front of the ram on each ram on the blade has been cut. Looks like it's had just a hacksaw cut in it. Possibly when the thing broke down, somebody decided to have a go off it and try and release the pressure. There are also cuts from an angle grinder on the rams, but I don't think they're all the way through. Hopefully, we're going to find out when we put pressure on it. So, I managed to bend the line out of it without making it worse. So I could try and get some kind of straight connection like the one that we used on the bucket ram pipes, and I might be able to join that way. As I said, I could cut the pipes off and try and weld something onto them, but again, where it is at the moment, it's going to be nigh on impossible to weld the position they're in. I do not want to go lifting and propping that blade and then go under the machine working on it. It's just too unsafe. There's just too many things that can go wrong trying to do it down here. So I'm going to try a little bodge. I am going to try to JB Weld the connection and see if that works. Look, it's worth a punt. We'll have a go at it, at least be able to answer the question, because I have Googled this, and I've just basically Googled JB Weld metal hydraulic pipe repair, and I have seen nothing. So let's try and answer that question. Might make an interesting video. May or may not work. If it lifts it long enough to get the machine out and get it back up to the workshop, where we can either apply gas to it or, as I say, cut off those stubs, weld in new ones, and get a rubber pipe or something on it. But look, in the meantime, we're going to give this a shot and see what happens. So it's a bit breezy out there, so I'm just going to show you this in Range Rover before we get out. So I've got the original JB Weld, and this is the slow setting variety. There's another one that goes off fully in, I think, 6 hours, but that one's rated for I think around 3,500 psi, whereas it's saying this one is 5,020 psi. So I've got that. Gonna have to do some cleaning. I think preparation is the big thing with this. So I brought some carburetor cleaner and various other things in clean rags. So I'm going to try and get any trace of dirt and oil off that thing. Let the carburetor cleaner evaporate. Brought some clean rags, as I say, clean it up a bit, and we give it a shot. Now, second part of my plan, I was trying to find some pipe that was just bigger than the pipe that's on the ram. Now, about the closest thing I could find, but it's a good bit bigger diameter, is this electrical conduit. Now, it's pretty thick as well. It's decent quality. So I've taken 2 lengths of it and put them in the vise, cut lengthwise with a hacksaw on 2 sides to remove a piece. So what I'll do is slip that on over with the JB Weld underneath it, so keeping those little cuts in the centre, so we've got a decent spread either side, that we can get a hell of a lot more JB Weld on there, and hopefully that'll work. And if it doesn't work, it just means that I've destroyed those pipes completely and I'm leaving myself no option other than to chop them out of there and weld in new pieces. But look, they're not going anywhere the way they are, so we're going to give this a shot to see if this product works. That's what it's going to cost me if it doesn't work, so I think it's got to be worth a try. My body just can't take any more hammering down here. I've been literally beating on these pins. I've gone home not able to lift my arms above my head, so let's get going. So I did manage to shift these 2 pins because I could literally get the sledgehammer on them from the 2 sides and beat them, but I've wasted days and days on these ones at the back. You can see where the ratchet strap there. I was trying to use lengths of threaded rod and make all sorts of brackets to try and wind them out by using heavy duty rod. That just didn't work. Even these took over an hour of beating aside to get them to move. So I'm just going to beat them back into position again. Now, I don't believe that cut in the ram goes right the way through. If it does, and you know what I think, for the sake of a few minutes, I think the one here as well on the other side, I think we might fill them with a bit of JB Weld while we're at it. But the culprit is down here underneath. You can see the cut. Now I've bent that pipe out from the ram a bit, give me a bit more working space, so I'm going to clean that up. We're going to get our sleeve on over it, squeeze it in there, and what we do then is we leave a couple of Jubilee clips on it overnight to hold, and the same on the other one, and let's see what happens. So the news in this ram isn't good. That cut goes all the way through, so I'm going to have to find something to stop the JB Weld all going into the inside of it. I'm just going to put something inside it and then slather it over the top. I'm going to give that a rub of sandpaper before I do. One on this side, I think there might be a tiny pinhole in there, so again, just need to make sure I can't get in there. I've degreased the cuts in the pipes, so I'm just going to give them a lick of sandpaper just to roughen the surfaces according to the instructions. Okay, so that's paint removed from those pipes. So this is something you need to remember when you're watching YouTube videos doing stuff like this. I literally spent wasted a good chunk of 3 weekends battling with these cut rams, and I have absolutely nothing to show for it. So yeah, there's a lot of behind the scenes work that goes into these things that just doesn't get used because nobody wants to watch hour after hour me beating off something with a sledgehammer and getting over. So I'm going to find something to stick in there to stop the JB Weld going all the way in, and clean up my repair patches and mix up some stuff and get this done. Yeah, so there you go. Hydraulic ram repairs using JB Weld. No, alright, admittedly, it's going to be a miracle if this thing works, but if it does, it is going to be spectacular. And definitely, if this thing works and you're watching this video, come on, you have to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I think as of today, I got around 495 subscribers, so I need all the help I can get. The more subscribers I have, the more money I'm going to have to spend on JB Weld. So there you go. By the way, this is not sponsored by JB Weld. It's just I'm pretty desperate to get this thing repaired, and I just want to see if it works. So I'm going to go away and leave this sit, and going to come back to the machine in the morning, sort out the steering and starting, and there is something else I was going to fix on here as well. I'm going to have a look at that quick hitch. But in the meantime, yeah, that's enough for today. See you tomorrow. I think it's some time for a little cosmetic work. It's just wanted to take a break from what I was at. So I've got the door off the back here, and just going to get it on the ground and straighten it out. Might move on and do the toolbox afterwards. So I jumped on it, hit it with a sledgehammer, and I think you have to agree that just improves the machine so much. I think it's the best job we've done so far here. Certainly looks a little bit scrapyard as well. It's raining here today as well, so I've taken advantage of all that free water and cleaned the windows. Next day I come down, I'm going to straighten out the toolbox. As I say, it was just needed a break from the other work, so decided I'd do that. Just look how good this thing looks since I cleaned the windows. You can actually see out of the cab. So bright. Makes it feel like a new machine. So I got sick of having that toggle switch start the machine. There's a problem with one of the inhibitor switches. I believe it's in the other armrest. So I've just run a brand new cable in a flexi conduit all the way from the solenoid out there down the battery box, and I'm just going to connect it straight into the back of the key switch. It's easier than trying to figure out what's wrong on the other side. So let's get going. So I decided I might as well top off the hydraulic tank before I try lifting the blade in the back of it, or getting the steering going, and just decided to pull the filters for a look, and the news is good. There's absolutely no metal inside the filters, so that's a promising sign. I think that we managed to get pretty much all the metal that was in the machine out from the destroyed pump, so it's all good. So gonna throw another 20 litres of fluid in there so we see how we go. Okay, so back to our steering system. We've got the mechanical steering pump, we've got this backup electrical steering pump, and then down here we have this little manifold in at the back, complete with a pressure sensor. So I've been through the system and through the diagrams. This electric pump isn't working at the moment. Now I took off the connections off the solenoid yesterday and cleaned them, but I managed to break one of the low tension connections in the process. But we shouldn't need it. We shouldn't have to rely on the electrical pump. That's basically there in case the engine stalls while the machine is working or moving, so that you still have steering. It's also shared with some of the CAT loaders. I believe the 977 model has this, but I'd imagine a lot of the CAT wheel loaders employ this system. So what I'm going to do is the pressure, I've identified the pressure light in the cab. That's flashing when the machine's idling. I've managed to get a small bit of movement out of the steering, but I'm going to crack, I've cracked the lines with the engine off, and I've got oil coming out of this pump, and I've got oil down the steering box, so I'm just going to crack the connections at the steering ram, just in case it's air or something silly like that. I think it might be. Pick the front of the machine off the ground, and we'll just try and steer it lock to lock, see if we can get the steering to work. I'm going to start the machine up. I'm going to try and pick the blade. Let's see what happens. Okay, so amazingly the JB Weld in the actual cuts and the rams survived. The blade lifted off the ground and then we started to lose oil, so we have come out of. So when I put on the pieces of conduit that we showed you in the earlier video on the back there, I obviously moved too much of the JB Weld off the actual cut. Where I put the JB Weld in on its own, it's held. So I'm going to have to remove those patches again and just try and go straight over the top with the JB Weld. But amazingly, that ram that was cut all the way through still seems to be holding fluid. So it's just down here in the back in these little pipes. So I think what we're going to try doing now is I'm going to try and find a way to suspend the blade, either with a chain or with straps off the ground. But I might just give it a try first. Now that I've actually disturbed the blade, I'm going to jump into the cab and I'm going to try hitting the travel pedal and let's see if we can actually move the machine. So I've cut off the fluid to that and I'll just give it a shot, see can we get it to move. So we're going to have to get that blade off the ground to get her out of here. Unfortunately, she's trying to go, but it's just creating too much drag of a pile of crap here in front of it and things, but at least it's moving. So this is our quick hitch, again light, so what I'm going to do is just drag it out a bit with the telescopic. I don't have enough reach to pick it up with that dump trailer and things in the way. So we just drag it out onto the ground and I can then strap it and pick it up. But it shouldn't hurt it anyway, it's a nice heavy piece of metal. So I'll just pull it out as far as here. Re-rig and we'll try and pop it out. So she's slung up, I head down and throw her on the machine. Okay, so she's down here. I just need to remove the pins and we'll swing our boom around then and try and hook up. So I'm just going to clean out the receivers as well on the machine. Wife's just arriving with the tools. So I'll try and get these pins out. Okay, so we found the missing piece of the jigsaw, which is this guy right here that goes between the digging ram and the quick hitch. So gave it a quick wash with the steam cleaner. Just kind of grease it and get the pins in. Now I would think that's it. Just gonna get in the cab and play around with it. Okay, so I've resorted to lifting the blade up with a telescopic loader and putting some chains on it. It's just about off the ground on that side. It's got a bit more clearance this side, but I've already snapped the chain once, so this thing is literally hanging by a thread. But I'm gonna fire the machine up and see if we can at least get it to drive forward a couple of feet. I won't take it any further until I can get some heavier chain to hold this thing up. But let's fire it up and see what happens. Okay, so there she is. Forgot for a minute there about the chains in the back and tried slewing it, which wasn't the cleverest thing in the world. Chains held somehow. So we've got her out of her grave. Now, she was very reluctant to move at first, and I think that's purely that the hydraulic oil needed to get down into the system properly, because as soon as I touch the travel pedal now, it responds immediately. There's no need for revs or anything like that. It'll just move away. So and of course the brakes could have been bound up in it. So I don't have brakes at the moment. I need to free the foot brake valve, and of course, as you know, I bypassed the parking brake valve for the moment, so I'll need to do that. But yeah, there she is. She's up and moving. I'm going to try leave her where she is tonight. Need to get the door on the cab tomorrow, just to stop the interior getting wet, and I'm going to top up. She needs a tiny bit more hydraulic oil, a couple of litres out to do it, just to bring her back up to the normal level. So I'll chuck that into it. But yeah, almost 12 months later, she has come out of her grave. So what I'll do now is I need to try and locate the bucket. No idea where the bucket for this thing is, and there's more of this broken rock down here, so I'm going to fill it up to that level and just clean it up. Obviously get all the crap bits and pieces off the machine that are thrown around here and dispose of them properly, and we can park her back in her corner then for a while if we need to. But I don't know, I think that's a success. So that's it for this video. Thanks for coming along. Sorry about the delay in getting this one out. That blade really put up a battle and wasted a lot of time messing around with it before I came up with the option of chaining it. I am going to return to the JB Weld repairing the rams. It's held on the barrel of the ram, so I'm going to try repairing that pipe with it again. If that doesn't work, going to get some better chains on there, be able to run it up, get it on the pit, basically grind those metal pipes off, tap the cylinder, and we'll just put a rubber pipe between the two ends, and that ought to cure it, seeing as we can't get them off the machine too easily. So thanks again for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell, the notifications. That's that little bell symbol down there, so you know when the next video comes along. And don't forget to like the video. Also drop a comment below. Hopefully some of the regulars will come along and comment there. Always good to hear from you guys. If you're new, come along, introduce yourself, let me know where you're watching. Always fascinated by different places that people are watching me from, so make sure you let me know where you're from, and let me know what you think of the job so far, and hopefully there'll be another video along shortly. Try not to leave it as long next time. Okay, thanks again guys, have a good evening, see you soon.